You are now rocking with the best. This is the Hall About Sports podcast with your host, the one and only Meg Hall. If you didn't know, now you know. We got co-host Kev in the building with us, and is Mr. Ben Troupe on the podcast with us. Now, I will say this: Ben is a man that you definitely want to know. Okay, so he's got a really, really big smile, met him in person, larger than life smile, real big energy into any space that he's in. I gathered that all in like the really short time that I got introduced to you, Ben. So that was really cool. He's a motivational speaker, an author, a radio host, a philanthropist, and a former NFL tight end, just to name a few things. He's joining the podcast to drop a couple of gems on us and to talk football. So, Ben, thank you so much for hopping in with us and joining the podcast.
I'll make it. Thanks for having me. I mean, listen, Mike Patton, wherever you are, man, I appreciate some of the kind words. But no, man, I'm happy to be on with you guys. I think when you get into the media business, I think the biggest thing that people forget is you can't remember what got you in the business. You can't just say, well, no one ever's made it. Like I haven't got to this plateau to say I'm never too big for anybody, man. So you asking me to be on the podcast is super duper humbling because I know this. If somebody thinks that you could bring some level of quality or energy or enthusiasm to their platform, man, I put myself in a position to say yes all the time. So thanks for having me, man. Looking forward to having some fun.
I appreciate that a lot. And yeah, shout out to Mike Patton, my guy. He's definitely connected with a lot of folks, and I appreciate him for it. All right, so let's talk about run of shows. So we did our quick intro. So then we're going to do the starting lineup with Ben. So he's going to talk background, how we got to start. We'll dive into that. We're going to do a little bit of Titans talk. Things have kind of changed with the Titans. The draft is come and gone. They got this Titans draft class now. We're going to get Ben's thoughts on that, what he thinks, how he would grade them, all that kind of fun stuff. And then, of course, we're going to do our favorite our favorite part of the podcast, which is the post-game presser. So that is, hey, what questions do you have for us? And we'll answer them as honestly as we can. We just always ask, hey, just keep them respectful. That's all. But we've gotten some pretty fun things like, again, top 5 athletes of all time. What unreasonable food opinions do you have? What else did we get? I don't know, but we got lots of good ones.
Favorite movies. We've had that one in there.
We have had favorite movies. Yeah, we've had that one. I think we also had superhero questions as well. So it's been fun. So, all right, let's just hop right into it. So obviously we know that you played in the NFL for several years. We want to know, how did you get started playing football? What were your best memories of playing? I know that you were at the University of Florida as well. Go Gators for them. Let's talk about it. Let's hop into it.
Country boy, Swainsboro, Georgia. And where I'm from, that's all we really had. Back in the recreation football was all we had. And you have to be 7 years old to play. So I was 6 years old, and my mama really, really wanted me to play. They were like, Miss Troupe, he's not going to play this year. We just can't bend the rules for him. You fast forward a full year, the cutoff date is September 1st. My birthday is September 1st. So they was taking all the stuff away and saying, Miss Troupe, we got to wait another year. Mind you, my mama is throwing caution to the wind. She is signing me up, right? Saying, listen, my mom goes, hey, give him a helmet, give him some hip pads. Back when the hip pads, you can see them hanging out the side of your pants. And they was giving my mom a hard time, right? And then my dad walks in, and they look up and look at him, and they was like, "It's so much true. What you need? You need some helmets. You need some," because they was giving her like a hard time. And the thing about football for me was, it's a place where aggressiveness and hitting and all these type of things that wouldn't go well in a classroom setting is celebrated. And my memory was just going out there playing on the same team with my brother. When you brothers, you play on the same team. He's a year older than me. White helmet, white jersey, white pants, black shoes. And my fondest memory was my mother could not afford cleats. Like, she was like, I just can't afford cleats. My mama did a hell of a job, man. And she just didn't have the extra money. I remember my coach saying, you get him here tomorrow and I will handle the rest. I just remember that. So you fast forward to the next day, I get out the car, little with my socks on. My coach pulls up. He got 2 pair of cleats for me, right? And it's like, I didn't think much of it. I'm 7 years old. I'm thinking that's what coaches do, right? But I'm like, my mom showing up, letting me get out the car. He did his part. And I remember that coach to this day. So I really, really appreciate just coaches. They become bigger than life to you, man, right? And man, my memories of my fond memories of football was always the same. And I got a chance to go out there and hit people, and I had a lot of fun. I tried to hit more than I got hit, and I don't know if I achieved that. But football was my safe haven, man. I wasn't a confident kid. I wasn't a super brash, out in the open kid. football gave me a level of expression that I didn't know it could. And on that field, man, I got to turn the switch and just be somebody different. And away from football, I was real to myself, didn't really have a lot of friends. So football gave me my first sense of friendship and, ownership, accountability, all these big words that I understand what they mean now. I didn't really understand them back then, but man, football was my safe place, man. It was my safe haven because, as my granddad would say, on that football field, I could dance on that football field now. Because if it could be done, I could do it. But I didn't care about the accolades that came with it. So the cheers, the great T.I. said the best, man. I didn't live for the cheers. That way I didn't die by the booze. And you got a lot of both, right? I didn't necessarily need both. But, man, it's when you from where I'm from till I moved to Augusta, Georgia, 7 years old, I could make the paper. That's how small where I'm from. So my grandma's like, well, you had 4 touchdowns? Yes. I said, yeah, Grandma, I had to do them. I had played for the Bears, wore number 33, had like them Green Bay colors, green jersey, yellow numbers. And where I'm from is so small that when you we was in elementary school, lunchtime, you give the girl you like, you let her, wear your jersey. So she wear your jersey. Now she had to give it back. But, you let her wear it. That's what I'm saying. Like, I didn't realize me being where I'm from gave me such a sense of home and friendship and family and togetherness. Because where I'm from, everybody knew everybody. Then when I moved to Augusta, when I was in the 5th grade, I went from a small town of knowing everybody to going to a big city, know nobody. I knew nobody. Mm-hmm. So football has always given me a voice and a presence because people want to know who the football player is. So I had to speak. Oh, you play football? Yeah, it's almost like it thrust me into an uncomfortable situation that I had to come out of my social awkwardness and all these type of things. But hey, man, run fast, hit hard, man. Run faster, hit harder. That's what I had to learn. And it was fun, man. It took me a long way because I never ever thought I would go to college. So when I'm going to the University of Florida, getting recruited by Georgia, Georgia Tech, Florida State, Clemson, South Carolina, I just pinch myself and laugh because I'm from a place to where my grandmother she lived on a dirt road. She had a cast iron stove. She had no indoor plumbing. She had an outhouse and a well. I came from that. My other great grandmother had a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, 10-roof house. So if it's raining outside, it feels like it sounds like a hurricane on the inside. These are the type of places I come from. So when people see where I'm standing, I tell them, man, you got to see where I stood, though. You got to see. I ain't with that. I ain't came from nothing. I came from the best something there is, man. To me, because it humbled me. It made me know how to treat people, appreciate people. So, when I'm hitting somebody out there in football, man, once you go pros and college, man, fear, boy. I don't want to get hit. Them boys hit hard and they hit often. So I had to learn how to protect my body, but I wouldn't change nothing about it because I get to stand on the shoulders of giants, man. I had 5 grandparents, a great grandmother, 2 grandmothers, 2 grandfathers, and these people shaped my life. So they up there in heaven saying that boy. So the Troupe legacy, as far as like college and pro, it might not have been the best player, but I was the best teammate there was. I would put my teammate resume against any player I played with or against. Because, I ain't played tennis, man. I ain't played golf. I played the ultimate team sport and looking back on it, man, I still got my health and my strength, and I thank God the YouTube was just coming on. It wasn't no social media because a lot of my hits would have went viral. They would have been like, boy, how did you get up? But no, man, football gave me my first identity. Before I had to figure out what the second one was, my first identity, man, was being an athlete, man. Strap it up, give me some shelves and a shoulder pad and some cleats, and let's do it.
I love that. Yeah. That was the best explanation I've heard in such a long time. But it was so nice to hear the background story. And I feel like that's a big part of what we do here is we try to tell stories, especially athlete stories and like who they are outside of like what you might see on a TV screen. So that's awesome, man. That like took all my questions too. I had all these questions and I was like, I'm just gonna let Ben go because he's answering all my questions.
Ben, that really resonated with a boy from Farmersburg, Indiana. So it was great to hear a lot of that stuff.
I don't even know where Farmersburg, Indiana
just sounds like a lot of greenery, a lot of green, a lot of farmland. That's what that sounds like where you're from.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't even know where that is.
The kind of town that has a marshal. That is the law. Yeah, there is one lawman.
It sounds like a town that when you tell other people from Nebraska where you're from, they be like, "Where's that at?" Man, look.
Yeah.
You would have to just know. That's where I'm from, man. If you in Georgia and you in Swainsboro, you're lost. GPS has failed you. You're lost. You're lost.
Now, the funny thing is, of course, I know where Swainsboro, Georgia is because I live in Georgia, and obviously, I've been all around and visited things like that. But yes, if you are going directly to Swainsboro, like you have a dedicated path to go there.
Oh yeah, you got a family member there. Like no one said that's what you'll never hear. Where you going? I'm going to Swainsboro, Georgia. Yeah. Man, I don't even know it exactly. Like it's almost like people from West Georgia don't know about East Georgia. People from North Georgia don't know about South Georgia. No one knows what Swainsboro is. You like Swainsboro, Georgia? The copper just go, man. I wish you the best because I don't know where that is. So I can't give you directions. I don't want to send you in the wrong direction. So,
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. All right. So we know that at one point in your professional career, you played for the Titans. I believe you played for the Falcons at some point as well, right? A season there. Also played for the Raiders at one point. You're on the practice squad there. So let's talk about your Titans career because I feel like that's where I know you from know your name the most. And of course, I mentioned your name in a couple different circles that I run in and everyone was like, "Oh, the Titans tight end. Yeah, I know that dude." So Titans fans definitely still love you and still think very fond of you. So I wanted to get your thoughts on the Titans and their draft. So obviously the draft, it's come and gone now. We've got this draft class now. Wanted to get your thoughts on like grading the Titans draft class. So on a scale of, I don't know, we're going to say like A to F, where do you rank them? Like, did you think that they had a good draft? What were your thoughts of Rand Carthen's first draft?
I give it a solid B. And the reason why is I never ever give drafts A's only because you talk about unproven players that they get a chance to go out there and prove themselves. But you get a big old lineman in the first round, you get Will Levis in the second round, you get a tight end, you getting that receiver from Tennessee Martin. I like stuff like that because I don't think people understand it's hard to be the first, even though he's not the first, to be able to break in, like to get schools to come to your school and say, "Hey man, we got some good talent up here." But to get a first round talent in the second round, a guy like Will Levis, because every GM is tied to one, the head coach, if they get to pick him, and a quarterback. Well, he didn't pick Vrabel, but he did get to pick Will Levis. I think Will Levis is built for a team like the Titans. The Titans has a very unique culture. They're not the media darlings of the NFL, right? They're not Green Bay. They're not Kansas City. They're not, but they're a really, really solid franchise. And when you think about all four teams in the AFC South, really similar: Jacksonville, Houston, Indy. And I think the thing about it, the reason why I give it a B is you address certain needs. And whenever you address a direct need, like Taylor Lewan, letting them go, that's going to hurt. Like that's a solid left tackle for, well over a decade, right? Derrick Henry's going to be a guy that he's getting closer to 30 years old with a lot of miles, on them tires. The thing about Rand Carthon that I can appreciate is he's using analytics as well as scouting. He's not just looking at the player and what, this player did athletically. How does this player help us in certain situations, in certain schemes? And I like that he's not afraid to do it his way. Like people was like, can Rand Carthon and Vrabel coexist? I played with Rand for 4 years in Florida. I never ever saw him get into the scouting game, even though his father was the offensive coordinator at Dallas when we got drafted in 2004. Rand understands the game of football, man, because you go from a scout to the head of scouting. He's went through the entire, stratosphere of understanding the game inside and out. So if he says he is until he proves he isn't. And so I think it's great because no first year GM is gonna hit it out the park. I don't care who you get, and the higher you pick, the harder it is going to be for those rookies to adjust. But I like what I saw, man. When it comes to the Titans, I'm always asking one thing: Did you get closer to beating that team in Jacksonville? Because now, even though they're young, they're the team, right? And obviously, and Rand looked at it this way: AFC South was probably going to have 3 rookies starting, with a third-year guy being the lead statesman down there in Jacksonville. Because Stroud, Richardson, Will Levis, I like what I saw. But I'm going to have to see it because I don't know if you can run the offense through Derrick Henry only because he's getting old. He needs to be there in week 17 in the playoffs.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's going to be, I mean, Chigwozium and Cumby on offense. We'll see what they do, but man, I know the Titans to be a run first, complimentary passing team with a rock solid defense. And if they can do that, they got a shot. Because this AFC South has gotten very young and very, very gifted and talented really, really quickly. I don't like giving Jacksonville any love, but I got to give. I mean, down 27-7 and win a playoff game, that's hard to come. And they got my boy Calvin Ridley. Good Lord, Evan Ingram is back. They're gonna be rough, but I do like what they did in the draft, because when you got a lot of holes to fill, you just got to pick which ones you want to fill. They pick O-line, they pick quarterback, they get a tight end, they get a receiver. They address some holes, but we'll see how those veterans gel with these young guys.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point that you make there. And Kev, I want to get your perspective on this. So Ben kind of touched on it. Obviously, I think that the Titans are going to have to do quite a bit to want to win the AFC South again, but they're going to have to go through Jacksonville. So what do you think that they would have to do in order to win the division, with Jacksonville essentially maybe primed to go back-to-back themselves?
Yeah, it really is, and it still doesn't sit right. Like Jacksonville is the top of the division. It doesn't seem so long ago that they were looking up, and we were watching how quickly they reloaded and got this thing ready. So as far as the Titans go, in my opinion, and Ben touched on a lot of it, and what he said is correct. How the Titans are going to win football games is controlling the line of scrimmage. They're going to dominate on defense, and I think they're going to need to maybe borrowing from what Jacksonville is saying they're going to do this year. Maybe they need to add a little bit of a running back by committee. I know that Derrick Henry is the guy, but as Ben pointed out, you really want him there at the end of the season, and I think the more mileage you can get out of some other players, you can get some other. I'm a little worried about the talent on the outside in the wide receiver room, so I'm not exactly sure where they're going to get this extra yardage from. But that's the great thing about this league is every single year there are multiple running backs that people don't see coming. Even the people who spend all summer diving in for the fantasy sake of it, the people who are really watching all these reps, we still have people that catch us off guard. So. And they have some backs. They've had some guys in the past. I believe Hilliard is a guy who has had some pretty big games in spurts. So I think they really need to find some compliments to Derrick Henry to make sure that he can withstand the entire season. So I don't think I want to see them not have to lean too heavily on him. But unfortunately, right now, the way they're built, like that's the offense that they have. So I'm hoping they can. Find some improvement in the wide receiver room, because there's always that opportunity too. If somebody steps up, and maybe they can do a little more damage on the outside. But defensively, I'd say they're pretty set. They gotta figure out what to do on the offensive side of the ball if they want to win the division.
Yeah, would agree with that. I think that they were really beat up on defense last year, and that showed in that 7-game skid that they had. Their offense needs an identity. They need to figure out what they're going to do. You need more production out of Treylon Burks and Chig Okonkwo. Derrick Henry is phenomenal. But yeah, to your point, you do need somebody who could step up behind him. I believe, I might be wrong, but I believe they drafted Tyjae Spears out of Tulane. And if you can get 4 to 5 solid years out of Tyjae before his knees go, and I mean that with all the respect, but the guy does not have any ACLs. If you can get several years out of him, I think you would be really proud of that, especially because running back shelf life is not that long in the NFL nowadays. So I think the Titans are going to be fine. Ben, did you want to add to that?
No, I mean, I agree with what you said about Treylon Burks. I think the thing about Treylon Burks that people don't like to give credit for, there was a recent video with Steve Smith talking to Musa Muhammad, and he told Musa, man, I'm nothing without you. Every great receiver had a groomer. You got to have somebody show you how to do it. We know you know how to do it, but I got to show you how to do it. People go, T.O. got the 3rd most receiving touchdowns of all time. Well, he got groomed by Jerry Rice. That's who groomed him when he was out there in San Francisco, right? The thing about Treylon Burks is, number one, as soon as he get here, you trade A.J. Brown. He's already living in the shadow of a guy who goes on to be a, first team, second team All-Pro and go to the Super Bowl. Treylon Burks, number one, first round pick out of Arkansas. The guy can play football, but he needs to be shown the way. When I was there, that we had Drew Bennett, right? We had Derek Mason. We had guys We had Tyrone Calico. We had different guys, but the alpha dog was Derek Mason. You could not cover him. I don't care who it was. He only went against Amari Roll in practice. So all pro versus all pro. Put him in the slot, get open. Put him outside, get open. Traylon Burks understood this. Man, I'm the number one guy, which means I got to get open against two people. I get double. So I got to get my body in shape to run all day, but then I got to get open. Then I got to make plays after the catch. So Traylon Burks, man, I'm rooting for you, man. But I just think that, unfortunately, when you make millions of dollars, no one cares about excuses, man. They only want to see the results. I think he grew up a lot in 2020 last year, but I think him and Chiggs, man, they got a shot to be special, man, but they can't do it by themselves because, unfortunately, whether it's going to be Malik Willis, Will Levis, Tannehill, they can't hand the ball off all game. They're going to have to make plays. So I think Traylon is built for it, but I tell people this all the time. Sometimes it's not good being the best player on the field every time you step on it because you get used to that. That's not going to happen again. Every time you step out there, that cornerback is good enough to stay to run with you. That safety is good enough. So I think for Traylon, it's saying, hey, man, talent aside, I got to get my skill set, and I think he will. I think it's going to be I think he'll have a bounce back sophomore season.
Yeah, I listen. Ben's over here dropping all kinds of knowledge, and I'm just over here like, "Yep, I agree. Yep, I agree. I agree."
Yeah, let me just take some notes over here.
Yeah, like, listen, it's not very often that we have guests on where we're like, yes, keep going. Yes, I got you. Like, usually Kevin and I are like, okay, all right.
Yeah, I could just go on mute, honestly.
Yeah, like, honestly, I'll just let you
popcorn.
sit here. Yeah. Listen, I'll just ask a question. We're just like, all right, Ben, go. All right.
Fantastic.
So that's a really good, I think that's a really good assessment of where the Titans are right now. I do think that, they're going to have to get the most out of Traylon Burks. One of the things I did see, this was a couple of days ago, in OTAs, he was talking about, his asthma is much better. It's underneath control. Now he's going to be, a lot better and quicker and faster. I think the other thing to look out for him is injury and health. Can he stay healthy? I think, when he's on the field, he's the best wide receiver they had on the field. No one else was really touching his production or his ability to attract the football. But to your point, he cannot be the best guy on the field from the wide receivers at all times. You need folks to step up. So we'll see what happens there with the Titans. All right, so that was really fun, and that went like lightning fast. But we've got the post-game presser. So this is essentially where you can ask us questions. So like I mentioned before, ask us anything that comes to your mind. We'll do our best to answer what you got for us. And I got questions for you too. I usually let my guests ask the questions, but I got a couple questions for you. So we'll start with you, Ben. What you got for us?
I want to ask you guys, is cereal soup?
What?
That's a great one.
I was not prepared for that whatsoever.
Oh,
is cereal soup? Yes.
I go with Meg on this one. I'm also in the yes group for this one. I think. Yeah. What do you think, Ben? Is it soup?
I go back and forth with it. But I think it is only because, right? Only because soup can be cold. Only because soup can be cold, right? So I'll go with yes. I got to ask you this. Is there a such thing as a non-traditional chicken wing, or is that just a chicken strip?
These are the best questions.
Yeah. Yeah. You kind of blew my mind a little bit there. I'm like, oh yeah, it's traditional and boneless, but that's not a chicken wing, right? That's a nugget.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
or a chicken strip. Yeah,
I was gonna say if it's a non-traditional chicken wing, it's just a little nugget then, and I can't consider it a wing. So then, it's got to be just a.
It's missing some key components, right?
Like
and we go eat. They'll say traditional, non-traditional. I say there's no such thing as a non-traditional chicken wing. I mean, think about it. There are boneless chickens walking around. Like there's a boneless chicken. It's not. These are the type of things we ask on my show. Like we ask these things, and we be like, okay, is there such a thing? Is there such a thing as double fudge or double chocolate?
I mean, yes, but I feel like that's just like now you've got me stumped here. Like I'm like, wait a minute, like I need to reevaluate my life here because I feel like I've heard of like double fudge cake and that sort of thing, but I'm like, what is the double fudge? Is it just a lot of chocolate? Like I'm
You do a second fudge, and it's like this one's slightly different from the other one.
like I'm
and-
just like I'm so confused. Like how does now you've really got me thinking, like, how does this happen?
These are the type of things we do all the time on my show. You might ask these type of questions or whatever, or this is the one that gets everybody. Does Tom Hanks have a bad movie?
Oh, I'm sure he does, because everyone does, right? Like everyone's got at least one. But how am I going to name it? I don't. Do you think? Can you think
got
of
to
one?
name it though. You got to name it, and more than you have seen it before. Like, does he have a bad?
So I've never seen this one. And I know it doesn't count if I say it, but I'm going to say it anyways. Never seen this one, but I would think like maybe Mr. Rogers wasn't like great or something. Like that's the only thing I can think of. Like,
yeah. But the thing is, Mr. Rogers is more like telling the story of an iconic,
right?
Like public figure. Like think about this: Tom Hanks, big Captain Phillips, a guy named Otto,
Forrest Gump.
He made you root for a soccer ball named Wilson. Like when Wilson went off in the ocean, we was like, you had one thing to do, and you let him go. I'm serious, man. Like, how can you name the ball the manufacturer? Wilson makes balls. His name is Wilson. And I'm saying, listen, man, anybody that can do that, like, I'm like, bro, like, really? I mean, you walking away saying, forget the fact that he made it. How you let Wilson get away, bro? Come on, man.
Oh my gosh, I am cracking.
That's a good point, though.
These might be the best questions we've ever had. Like, I'm not even gonna lie to you. Like, we've got some pretty good ones, but these might be the best questions we've ever had. I do have one for you, Ben, and this is not food related or Tom Hanks related. So, who do you have in the NBA finals? So we know that we've got Heat and Nuggets. What team are you taking and in how many games?
Well, I mean, the best coach team is obviously the best team is Denver. Like they're the number one seed for a reason. You got arguably the best player left, Joker's left, but it's something about the Heat, man. It's something about like Eric Spoelstra and Jimmy Butler, and Udonis Haslem, Mr. 20 years in a row. I think the thing about the Heat is, right, we don't give the Heat enough. Denver has the best team. I think Miami has the best culture. I think culture beats teams. I hope if it goes 7, I go with the Heat because I don't think you want to go out there in them deep waters with Jimmy Butler. I just don't. I think he's like an unsung superstar. But if it goes choke, man, I think, shout out to both of the two bubble teams, right? Because these are two bubble teams that people didn't think the bubble was real and all that. Mm-hmm. But I would love to see the Heat, but I just think Denver, man, they had all this rest. They just been sitting around chilling. I think Denver's probably going to win it, and having a changing of the guard when you think about the West, no one saw it being Denver. Maybe the Suns, maybe the Lakers, maybe Golden State. Shout out to Denver, man, for having the best team in basketball, maybe the best player in basketball right now. But if the Heat make you go out there, they make them boys from Denver go swimming in 7 games, I'll go with them Heat. But I'll take Denver. I think Denver's going to win.
Okay. Kev, who you got in this one? I'm curious.
I have to stick with Denver at this point. I also, my dear friend and co-host at my NBA show, The Bounce, James, who is an avid Titans fan, by the way, Ben, he's going to be, I can't wait to rub it in his face that I got to talk to you and he didn't. Sorry.
Sorry, James. We're so sorry.
All in good fun. No, but James has been since day one. He's been on the Denver train. We've been following this team throughout the season. Ben put it very well. They're the best team. I think Eric Spoelstra might be the best coach in the NBA right now, at least in a 7-game series when it comes to making adjustments. This man called a timeout last night after his team made a bad play and the lead was cut to 18. All right. That's some, like not every coach, he just knows the right time. Okay, we're going to stop this run before it starts. We're going to make these adjustments. Like Ben said, I wouldn't want to play against Jimmy Butler in a Game 7. I would not want to be coaching against Eric Spoelstra in a Game 7 either. No discredit to Mike Malone. He does a fabulous job as well. But I'm just going to stick with Denver because I think that they haven't been given enough credit throughout the year. And now that everyone's going to get to see it, they're really going to get to see it. And Jamal Murray, we talked about the bubble, for him to go through what he's gone through the last 2 years and to have this sort of coming out party, establishing himself as a next level superstar on this national stage. I think they're going to finish that story this time. That's give me Nuggets.
All right. I'm going to take Nuggets. I'm taking Nuggets in 6. I think Nuggets will be a little bit too much for the Heat. But I will say this. If the series goes to 7 games, I'm going to take the Heat if it goes to 7 games. Like in that final game, yes. Like I think the Heat would probably pull something else like that. But I do think the Nuggets are going to be too much for the Heat. I worry about, maybe he can get it fixed, but I worry about them getting absolutely worked in the paint. Joker is going to go to town on Bam Adebayo. No, that's no slight to Bam, but Bam has been struggling offensively while his defense has been there. His just putrid the last several games, and I think you got to be on in order to go toe to toe with Jokic. So from then on, yeah, I think it might be Denver's time. Maybe it's finally their time. But I'll say this: I was secretly pulling for the Heat in this series against the Celtics because, one, I just didn't believe in the Celtics long down the stretch, but they proved me wrong in the 3 games they came back, and I was like, okay, maybe they're finally gonna do it, and then they got blown out in Game 7. So here we are. Ben's like rolling his eyes. He's like, good Lord.
Yeah. NBA playoffs. There.
Well, listen, I'm not even gonna lie. I screamed the loudest I think I've ever screamed for a team that's not my team when I saw that the ending to Game 6. And as a Spurs fan at heart, I was so happy for Derek White because I absolutely love him. But I was like, yo, what did I just see? Like, my husband and I are both like, screaming like at this game. Nothing like playoff basketball. So I had to get that out there. All right, Ben, any other wild, crazy questions that you have for us?
Wild, crazy questions. Okay. Who is on your Mount Rushmore for basketball? Who is on the Mount Rushmore?
Oh my gosh, Kev, I'll let you take this one first. You're the basketball guy, so that's his first love. So I'll let Kev
this one's tough. My first 2 were very easy. MJ and LeBron are on there for sure, and now is where I have to sit and think for a minute because we could do 30 minutes on this right here, Ben. Probably just trying to figure out. And here's why. And here's my argument for Bill Russell. Here's my argument for Kareem, for Magic, all that. But I'll just stick to personal taste then. So it won't be like I'm not saying these are the 4 greatest players of all time, but we'll just say for me, my personal favorite, the most influential to my love of basketball would be Michael Jordan, LeBron, Larry Bird, and Hakeem Olajuwon. Because I learned so much believe it or not, I was tall in early stages of life. So I was a post player early on in basketball. So I learned so much from Hakeem with the footwork and the up and under. And it was just, poetry in motion, honestly. If you didn't get to see Hakeem in his prime, it's something you just don't see a lot from big men in the modern NBA.
Oh, now I got to follow that up. Like, oh my gosh.
Sorry, you shouldn't let me lead.
I know. I should have known. All right. Definitely going to put LeBron, MJ on there. Those 2. After that, I'm going to go Kobe Bryant. Honestly, I'm going to put Kobe on there. And the 4th one's going to be, I'm going to be a little bit of a homer here because I felt like he did not get enough love when he was playing. It's definitely Timmy. It's definitely Tim Duncan. You knew where I was going. One of the most underrated big men of all time, I feel like. Now, if you watch basketball, then you respect the game. But I feel like there is, even now, I see the disrespects. So I'm gonna put Tim Duncan on there. Ben, who's on your Mount Rushmore? I'm curious.
Oh man, Mount Rushmore for me, definitely Mike and LeBron. I think you have to put Kareem on there. Kareem is probably the greatest basketball player of all time, and not just pros. Even in kind of like. He's out of this world. He's out of this world.
They changed the rules to try to stop him.
He did. And the thing about the 4th one is so many people so many people. Oh man. But for me, I look at people who changed the NBA. Like they just changed it, right? They changed the NBA. and just to piss people off, just to piss them off. I think that, man, I think a guy that changed the way we look at the NBA is AI. I think he changed it, man. I think he took it because he's not the greatest player, but pound for pound, he is the best player ever came through the league because he's a 6-footer that won the MVP. When you got check, so my Mount Rushmore is more. Listen, you got impact and influence, right? That's Mike. That's LeBron. That the greatest is Kareem. And as far as like change the game, that's AI, man. He took it.
I love it.
Because when people use the word dominate, they're talking about moments. They're talking about a series. No, AI used to dominate with the trees. He walk in, I'm like, see that little guy right there with the cornrows? Watch the box score. You cannot, and he didn't dunk. So, and I know people gonna go crazy, but ask LeBron, ask D-Wade, ask Melo, ask the new guys who they wanted to be. And if I had a 1B, if it wasn't LeBron, if it wasn't AI, because Kobe is easy. If it wasn't, I would go Dirk. Dirk changed the league too. That's why you don't have the big man anymore. That's why Embiid is hanging out at the 3-point line instead of down low. So I look at guys that, because like I said, Kobe don't need the Mount Rushmore, man. Kobe's Kobe, man. He but I will agree, Meg, with what you said about Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan is so disrespected, man. Tim Duncan won 5 out of Wake Forest from St. Thomas. They better stop playing with that, man. And he did it. He's a lifer. Oh, and when people say who's the greatest scorer, it's LeBron. I got the most points. What are you talking about? How can I not be the greatest scorer and I got the most? Oh, and when people say it's because he played 20 years, Tim Duncan played 20. Jawan Howard played 20. Vince Carter played 21.
Didn't Dirk play 20 too? Dirk was 19 or 20.
So just because you play 20, now when you listen, LeBron James, the year 19, I get put out in the first round. Year 20, I'm in the Western Conference Finals. Stop playing with me, man. Stop.
Exactly.
With him. He's the only player that get to say, I want to play with Bronny, then I'm leaving. Once I play with Bronny, I'm good. I'm just saying, man. Like, so I never like to say who was. It's hard to put anybody over Kareem, man, because Kareem had just as many finals as Mike. And everywhere he been, the jersey has been retired. Milwaukee, the Lakers, UCLA, Pop Warner, AAU, backyard. He's had to, and when Magic won, I think he won his second chip. How did he get that game winner? The sky hook. I had the most unstoppable move in basketball. So shout out to the Mount Rushmores, man. That always list gets people mad because they think you made the wrong list. Listen, this is my list. So my Mount Rushmore, I'm gonna put AI on that thing, man. With the cornrows.
I love it. Mike mentioned Steph Curry, who is a hard one to leave off, but I'm sure he
Steph Curry is this thing about Steph now, right? Steph is the greatest shooter we ever seen, right? Steph is he the greatest? Is he the greatest point guard? Nope. That distinction belongs to Magic, right? There's another person. As great as Steph is, you think Steph was better than Isaiah Thomas? You better go back and watch. Listen, people don't want to do this.
Talk about disrespected.
Steph is the greatest shooter we're gonna ever listen. Greatest, right? Greatest. LeBron got 4 finals. He got 4 finals MVPs. Steph got 4 finals. He got 1 MVP. 2 of them with the KD, and the first one with the Andre Iguodala. All I'm saying is, on the biggest stage, were you the best player? Right? Mm-hmm. That's all I'm saying. Love Steph, man. Love Steph. Steph is, to me, he just hit another jumper. His range is crazy. but we look at skill set more than we look at talent. Like, Steph is both, right? The reason when Michael Jordan learned how to win, you know who taught him how to win? That would be the bad boy. That would be the bad boy Pistons, led by Isaiah. That's all I'm saying, man. You help the GOAT become the GOAT. You know, in those situations. I don't take nothing from nobody, man. These are team sports. I get it. Love Steph, right? Love Steph. But what if Derrick Rose never mess up his knees? Man, people better stop these conversations. Yep. They just go, right? What if Shaq can shoot free throws?
Oh.
Would he be the greatest? You know what I'm saying? I'm serious. These things never, what if Greg Oden never hurt his foot?
Oh man.
Brandon Roy. Yeah.
But basketball is one of those things to where, because when people talk about the best all-time duos, we hear about Kobe and Shaq. We hear about Stockton and Malone. We hear about D Wade and LeBron. What about Cuttino Mobley and Ricky Robert Franchise? Listen, man, it just I don't mess with basketball because that pisses people off because they want you to get it right. But shout out to Tim Duncan, man. And if you ain't never seen the Netflix documentary on Parker, you might want to see it, boy. Parker influenced international basketball like nobody else. Love you, Dirk. You did not do what Parker did. Tony Parker, man, please, man.
You're speaking my language over here. I'm like, oh my gosh, my Spurs are getting some love. I'm so excited.
Shout out to Kawhi, who told them trainers, I'm not going back out there. I ain't doing it. Not doing it. And now he's on load management, and I can't stand it.
I got one final question for you, Ben. If you didn't play tight end, what position would you have played in the NFL if you weren't playing tight end?
Outside linebacker. Because and this is why I say it, because I like what it has become. Like the outside linebacker position is like the new it's been like that since Lawrence Taylor. But when you see how much they let you do, obviously your job is to rush the passer and to not give up outside contain on the run, right? Mm-hmm. But your role is to disrupt. Your job is to disrupt offenses. Really, DeMarcus Webb, Von Miller, I mean, it's one of those positions where they let you stand up on, you're on the two, you ain't got your hand in the dirt all the time, and they ask you to do a lot, man. It's like, it's what guys want to be now. But I will say this about tight end, man, and yes, I am biased. Yes, I am. But what the tight end position is now, like what it has become, listen, man, tight end is a utility player. They ask us to do everything. And because of Philly special, Trey Burton, shout out to the University of Florida, they let him throw that thing in the Super Duper Bowl. Nick Foles get to have a statue because of Trey Burton. They finally let it, because they usually wouldn't let us throw that thing, right? What would my sack dance be? Man, please. Oh my God, man. You know what? I ain't gonna lie. It would be something very, very simple that I want to do something that the kids want to do. I don't want to make it so integral. So it would be something simple, but I have to get enough sacks to where it becomes like something like when LT did the layup, when Sean Merriman had the lights out. Like, you got to do it enough because T.O. scored so much. He never had the same one. So I'm gonna come up with something though, man, because I get to hit that quarterback. Oh my God, man, that would have been. But that's a dream world. I'm not saying that would have happened, but shout out to them tight ends, man. People, listen, at the end of the day, when Traylon Burks, eat a couple of burgers, man, he can come over to the tight end position later on in life. Not right now. Not right now. Not right now. But the tight end position, man, Gronk, Travis Kelce, Kyle Pitts, Mark Andrews, Darren Waller, George Kittle.
Yeah.
What are we Gesicki? What are we talking about? No fair. Come on, bro. We got some. I never thought I would see a Tony Gonzalez 2.0, and Travis Kelce is. Where did he come from? I never thought I would see a tight end that could block like an old lineman. Here comes George Kittle. And I never thought I would see a unicorn. There go Kyle Pitts. Listen, man, shout out to tight end you up there in Nashville, Tennessee, with George Kittle, Greg Olsen, and Travis Kelce did. They know they want to be tight ends, man. Them boys, they know. You want to win games? Run your offense. Like, listen, Chiggs up there in Nashville. Love you, boy. That's a Georgia boy. Sandy Springs. Those who don't know. Maryland. Now I said this. I got to interview him on my show before the draft. I said, boy, you going to the Titans, and he went to the Titans. And hey, so I'm rooting for him. So shout out to the tight end position, man. It's It's not what it used to be. It's a glamour position now. Them boys making wide receiver money. So shout out to them. Happy for all of them.
Well, Ben, we appreciate you coming on. This has been fun. This has been one of the wildest episodes I've been on, and so in like the best way possible, though. All right, Ben. So we like to give our guests a time for them to share like where people can find you on the internet. So let people know where they can find you on socials and anywhere else.
I'm at Troupe 84, BENTROUPE 84 on all social media outlets. Right now, man, I'm just enjoying this media world. From doing shows like yourself, and I'm really getting into the podcasting world, man. 84 Reasons is my podcast that I have through the University of Florida's NIL platform, and I'm about to be starting my own podcast here, man. Gonna be calling it Only One Dash. Only One Dash simply means only one life. When you look at a tombstone, you got two dates when you was born. When you die, you got a dash in the middle. So that's the life that you live. That's why we get only one dash. And I love to hear people's stories. I think that all of us have them. I try to pull it out of you. Like I try to get you to say what nobody else can get you to say. And like I said, man, God gave me an opportunity to have a second life at life. And as I was told, you got two lives, man. And the second one begins when you realize you only got one. And man, I'm just enjoying this ride, man. Taking it as it comes. Never thought I would be on these radio waves, but they can't stop me. And I'm gonna keep doing it as long as they have me. Like I said, Megan, I appreciate. I was happy at being just another face in the crowd at the Black Sports Biz Symposium. People like yourself, as well as you, Kev, y'all make a person like me feel like somebody. I know my validation comes from the people that validate me. I don't mind saying it. Most people think, I don't care about validation. Stop lying. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. And that's the part of me, man, just being open and honest, man. I like that way when Megan and Kev, when y'all make it to the big time, when y'all on the red carpet, I say, remember when? And I'm going to point at you and say, no, man, I don't need nothing, man. I just want to let you know that I say there was the next up. Because I know a lot of podcasts and people when they weren't what they are now. I saw them back then. And I'm going to tell them the same thing I told y'all, man. Do what you know how to do, because you know how to do what you do better than anybody else. Like when it comes to Kev and Megan, just be authentic. I'm just telling you, because there are no podcasting gurus. Don't go to no master classes. Don't buy no products. Get you a mic, get you some guests, make mistakes, laugh, don't take it too serious, and watch what happens. Just watch what happens. That's what I do. That's what I do.
I love that. You have been like so electric, and I'm just like smiling over because I'm like, this is so good. I don't want it to end. Kev, tell the people where they can find you on the internets.
Yes, thank you. And thanks again, Ben, for joining us. It's not every day that a guy gets to talk to one of his football cards. So, this has been an honor. I'm very happy to be here.
Yes,
you can find me on the internet at KevNevick _. And if you're looking for more sports content, check us out at Bite Size Sports. We talk NFL, NBA, and sooner or later, we're going to get a NASCAR show going. But we need to find our co-host. So always a pleasure to be here on Tuesdays, though.
Hey, listen, if you need a co-host, I can definitely be a co-host. I know very little about NASCAR, but I'm a great co-host. So
there we go. Hey, yeah, we have the expert. We just need somebody to drive the show. So I might be reaching out,
just put me on, my guy. Like, put me on.
Let's do it.
All right, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram. It is at the Megan Hall, like THE, and then my name, Meg Hall. You can also find me on YouTube, of course. If you're listening to this, it's HallAboutSports on YouTube. Same thing on the tick of the talk, as the kids say. It is HallAboutSports Pod, POD. And then finally, for all of your content, it's HallAboutSports.com. That is my brand, along with my feelings, my rants, everything in an organized space, and things that I want to share. Of course, don't forget, I also write for ColtsWire with USA Today. So all that content is at coltswire.usatoday.com. You have been listening to the Hall About Sports podcast with me, where the sports are real, the sounds of the game are real, and Kev is real as well. I forgot to mention him. He's real. And yes, the stories are real too. We'll catch you on the next episode. Peace out.